Most of us know about the red flags now. We see them flying high. We know what that means. We understand what a toxic relationship is. We've done the work to look at ourselves and ask ourselves those deep questions, and we've begun to move on. So, what's next? What do we do after we exit a toxic relationship? How do we move forward? And how do we begin to reclaim who we truly are? In today's video, I want to talk about that. I want to address some of the specific things we can do immediately after a toxic breakup to begin to really find ourselves and begin to actually develop that blueprint that is us. Hi friends, glad to be back today. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it because it shows us that we're doing something right. Also, if you like this video and you like the content, give us a thumbs up here. Okay, so we've left the toxic relationship. We've moved on. We've gone through that process. Now what do we do? And I think this is one of the biggest places that many of us find ourselves in. It's almost like this fork in the road where it's like we've gone this direction, we've done what we have to do, we've done what we need to do what's right by us. It wasn't the easiest thing, it was really challenging, it was really hard, it really was emotionally like just all encompassing, but we did it. So now how do we get that power? How do we begin to find ourselves? How do we begin to claim the blueprint of our identity? And it takes lots of different steps, but we have to start somewhere. And one of the things that I think is very important is to understand what we gave up in the last few relationships that we've been in. Because I know that a lot of us are in kind of a cycle pattern where we've been in multiple toxic relationships that are very similar in nature, and we gave up similar things, and we kind of lost our identity. And so that's where we're really looking at today. And the first thing that I want you to examine are what are the things that you really gave up to stay in that last relationship? What were the things that you gave up so that you didn't have to hear them yell or fight with you? What were the things that you had to give up that were personally very important to you that you had to give up just to keep the peace? Many of us have given up many things that really matter, whether it's the relationship with our parents, the relationships with good friends, other family members. And that is very painful because you had to do it because you felt like you had to do it because every single day, day in and day out, all you could hear was how bad your mom is, how bad your dad is, how bad your friends are, and eventually it just eroded, right? And so it just caused you so much stress and anxiety, and it was the last thing you wanted to do, but you thought, if I just pull away a little bit, if I just don't call all the time, if I just don't text, if I don't go over there, maybe they'll just calm down and just be calm and eventually get over it. But it didn't happen, right? All of a sudden, it's just like they kept taking more and more away, and you kept giving more and more away as well, just hoping that the peace could be there. And so I want you to really think about that. Start journaling on that, because that is one of the biggest toxic pieces that there was in that relationship, because it took you away from who you are, but it also took you away from what you enjoy, the people you like to be with, as well as your family. And so looking at those kind of components, how you got down that pathway, and it's not like it happened instantaneously in the relationship. It wasn't like you instantaneously had to let go of your best friend from childhood and you instantaneously had to separate yourself from your mother and father. That was something that happened incrementally later on down the road, right? And there were other things that you gave away and other things that you got rid of earlier to appease this person. So I want you to start looking at the journey that it took to get all the way there, because it's a bit of a journey, because it's like one little thing that you let go of, another little thing that you let go of, all because you want to just keep the peace, and then eventually the big pieces, those are the things that they start wanting you to let go of. And eventually you start doing because you're so beaten down, you're wanting to keep the relationship, you're wanting to have this relationship, you don't want to be alone, you don't want to be lonely, you want to try to prove the fact that you can be successful in this relationship, so you do all that to make this work. But ultimately the relationship was doomed, because you can't stay in a relationship where somebody is completely controlling you, but also you can't stay in a relationship when you're giving away your identity. Okay, so I want you to really think about that. How did the journey happen? What were the first things that you had to give away? What were the first things that you had to acquiesce to? Because I think you can start seeing a pattern, and maybe you could even look at not only just the last relationship, but the previous relationship to that, to understand maybe a pattern in action as well. Also, reestablishing these relationships. Some people might be a little upset, some people might be a little hurt. I mean, that's obviously to be given. But at the same time, how do you reestablish those relationships, and beginning to really reestablish those relationships as solid relationships, and explaining to these people as well the reasons why you did what you did. They might not always accept the reasons, but you being honest and transparent says a lot. You might feel like it makes you look weak, but in reality, because you've moved on from the relationship and because you're finding your true self at this point, I think people will respect it. And that's one of the big things, is starting to claim who you are, reclaim the person you are, okay? Another thing that I want to bring up to you is the things that we had to sacrifice value-wise. So we had to sacrifice people in our life, but what are the values that we had to sacrifice? What are the things that we really valued that we had to let go of in order to, again, to keep the peace and to get this person to be okay in the situation? Think about that. What were those values? Were those independence? Did your independence go away, where you had to be on beck and call all the time? Were they trying to figure out where you were all the time, wondering where you were, you didn't have a lot of privacy? Or maybe the fact of, having that independence of having that work schedule that you really enjoy, like being able to work and do a lot of things, and all of a sudden your work schedule was under scrutiny. Why do you have to work so late? Why can't you come home? Why can't you do this from home? Why do you have to be at the office to do this? And all of a sudden your entire work daily dynamic changed. Right? So many of you really like to work at the office. You get a lot done. You like to have that interaction with the folks in the office, and it really gives you pleasure and happiness because you get a lot done and you feel like you're part of the camaraderie and part of the group. But all of a sudden, that went away because they wanted you to work from home. This is very important because when we really think about it, we're not only reworking who we are, but we're reworking our work schedule, our day-to-day schedule, our Monday through Friday, our Saturday and Sunday, and understanding what really makes me happy. What really works for me in the process of doing what I do best, spending time the way I need to spend time, but also my work capacity. And I've had some clients tell me, yeah, I just don't get anything done at home. All of a sudden, my significant other wanted me to be home. I felt like they, had a finger on me. We were able to figure out where I was at all times. There was a little bit of control there. And I started giving away all this stuff. And next thing you know, I didn't have connections with the people at my work. I seemed to feel like I was kind of out in left field. And on top of that, I wasn't really happy with my job anymore because I didn't have that camaraderie that I had. So thinking about the things that you gave up, they might have been small at the time, but they begin to be big. And they begin to take away from our quality of life. And then the interesting thing about a toxic relationship in this situation is it's never enough. You can never give away enough for them to be happy. And that's the ultimate resolve. And I know that's why you left the relationship, is you started realizing that when you gave up the big things, it didn't matter anyway, because there was always something else that they wanted you to give up. And so we're going to be doing a series of videos about talking about these things so that we can really think about how we can, we've exited stage right, but how can we empower ourselves so we don't go down that path again and we don't find ourselves in that toxic cycle once more. I'm a life coach, and if you'd like to work with me, go to ashleyberges.com. Click on coaching sessions, and you can set up a coaching session right there on your computer or phone. I look forward to working with you, and this is what I love to do, is really help people empower themselves and find that power and really understand that blueprint of themselves, especially after leaving a toxic relationship or even in the middle of a toxic relationship, being able to get that power and courage to move on and then finding their true selves. I hope this video has helped you. Please share it with family and friends. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, and give us a thumbs up on this video. If you connect with the content, or you know that somebody that actually needs to hear the content, let them know about it as well, because this information is important. Once you're able to have the power to leave the relationship, it's hard. It's hard to do that. And now it's time to build yourself up and eventually find the relationships in your life that actually work and that are actually healthy. In the meantime, don't forget to live your true life.